If Baylor loses to Houston on Saturday and misses a bowl game with this kind of talent, it's the biggest embarrassment since...
You are Locked On Baylor, your daily podcast on the Baylor Bears. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello there, Bears fans. Welcome to another episode of Locked On Baylor, brought to you by Game Time, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day, the number one sports podcast network in the world. Just in case you forgot what day it is Wicker Wednesday here on Locked On Baylor. Sydney Wicker of KCEN Channel 6 joins myself, Cam Stewart of ESPN Central Texas, and the Rogue Media Network. Today we are tackling this Baylor-Houston matchup, the surprise favorite in this one, and what it means if Baylor loses and misses a bowl game entirely. Plus, Arizona wiped the floor with Baylor in the second half of last week, but does it make them the winner of the Big 12 this weekend? And we will have the recap from that Baylor St. John's basketball game out in Vegas. All that and more coming up on this episode of Locked On Baylor. We had to fit Sydney in here before Thanksgiving. You know, everyone's on the move, but it's especially Sydney. She is going to College Station. She is going to Waco. Man, she has got college football in the blood this week. Sydney,
not to mention where I'm going on Saturday. No. Do you know, Cam?
No.
Yes.
Are you really?
Ann Arbor. I'll
wow.
be there. Yes.
Good for you, man. Good
we never stop traveling around here.
I mean, that is hopefully worth the travel. I mean,
it better be, because it's also my birthday. So I'm hoping for a birthday dub. The game has only fallen on my birthday one other time, and it did not go very well. So I need redemption.
So it was part of that decade or so.
It was a part of that decade.
Yeah, I get that.
We don't talk about that very much. So 4.5 sounds pretty good for me right now. So.
College football in the blood in this show, and certainly with Sydney Wicker as well. Man, that is cool. That is so cool. We'll be watching Baylor and Houston on Saturday. And I know you're
sorry, guys. I won't have my sideline analysis for next week, but I think I'll still be able to bring some good stuff to the table.
I think you will. And obviously you're getting us prepped for that game as well. You're certainly doing it for the viewers of KCEN Channel 6 as well. Shocking, Sydney, is that FanDuel, as of recording, has Baylor as a 2.5-point favorite at home against Houston. Can you help me out here? Sure, great. I'm happy that they're the favorite, but why are they the favorite?
Yeah, I'm shocked as well. We both were like, wow, is this for real? Like, there's not a typo here. But yeah, I think over the last couple weeks, we've really seen Houston kind of take a step down, which I think probably goes into that a little bit of like, maybe they've already peaked this season and maybe there's not much left in the tank for them, and Baylor is at home, senior day, a senior class that probably wants to go out on a good note. So that's kind of where I'm thinking they're like, all right, let's put Baylor as favorites.
Yeah, I guess. Like, I wouldn't say Baylor's on a hot streak, but and hate to say it, I don't know that there's much of a home field advantage at this point. But I guess maybe to your point there at the end of like, Baylor does have something to play for. Houston kind of doesn't, right? Like, anytime you're building up a program and a second-year head coach, like, every win is valuable for sure. You know, you go from 4 wins to whatever, 8 wins, and that does mean something. But for Baylor, you absolutely have to play for something. Like, it's all still out on the table. You know, every loss early in the season, Dave Aranda and the players will tell you, like, we've still got it all ahead of us. It's not all ahead of you right now, but you can make a bowl game, which kind of feels like the bare minimum, no pun intended, but the bare minimum for this roster coming into the season. And here they are, 1 game away from making it or from not making it. So let me throw this doomsday scenario at you, Sydney, because that's what we do here. If Baylor scores less points than Houston on Saturday and they don't go to a bowl game, how much of a colossal failure will this season look like?
I mean, it's almost expected at this point. Like, it is what it is.
I didn't think they'd be a favorite in this game. I didn't think they would be. So maybe it is expected, you know?
And what are you playing for now? A chance to play in like a Shreveport Bowl or something like that. Like
The Armed Forces Bowl in your rival stadium again? Ooh.
What is there left to play for other than the fact that these seniors have one last chance to go out there and play together, a group that's seemed really close and has really seemed to connect well on and off the field over the last couple of years. But other than that, like, it is what it is. And after all the expectations leading up to the season, this season is already a disappointment.
Yeah.
So if you miss out on a bowl game, is anyone shocked? I don't think so. It just adds to it of, what are we doing here?
That's a good point. Like, it's we could call it major colossal failure if they lose on Saturday, the old MCF, but I think they probably already chalked this season up as a disappointment, as a loss, so to speak. And I know there's a lot of Baylor fans that feel that way because I see them in my comments all the time of like, not that they hope they lose, but they're almost like, man, can this season just be over? Like, can we just, I don't want to be living in this Baylor football space right now. I'm ready to get on to kind of the next thing. But your point about the seniors, like, that is who I felt for all season. Not that there's, that it's not all their fault. You know what I mean? Like, they're out there playing and they're losing games as well. But this is a really good senior class. Specifically, the skill position guys. You look at Sawyer and Josh Cameron and Michael Trigg, Devin Bobby on the defensive side. There's a lot of seniors obviously worth celebrating on this team. Do you think, we talk about, whatever it is, the Shreveport Bowl, the Armed Forces Bowl, it's not even going to be as prestigious as the Texas Bowl if they make it. But do you think there's enough juice to be like, let's leave it all out there so we can play one more game after this?
I do think there's enough juice to possibly do that, but even if they do make a bowl game, do those guys want to play in it?
Well, yeah, some of the skilled guys, because those are NFL guys I just mentioned right there, but with the exception of Devin Bobby, those are NFL guys. Are they even going to want to play?
Yeah, I could see them wanting to just because of the character guys that they are and how we've talked to them. And Sawyer's just he's one of the most competitive guys, and you can see that. And I could see him wanting to just to kind of maybe end his Baylor career on a high note. But overall, you can't blame them if they don't want to. Like, they've had this season to do that, and they've essentially failed this year and didn't have what they wanted to. All of those guys wanted to be playing for a Big 12 championship. All of them wanted for maybe even to have their name mentioned in the college football playoff conversation. Like, it wanted to be there, and it didn't. And so, it's nice to think about, they want to go out there one more time and try to make a bowl game so that they get one more game and that this isn't their last. But even if they get there, is it worth it? Or are they going to play in it? I don't know.
Man, I'm going to be desperately rooting for it on Saturday. Like, I know there are some people at this point, the point is moot. You're not rooting for them to lose isn't going to do anything with the head football coach. I didn't think that was a great strategy anyway, but like, I just get to a bowl. It's again, the bare minimum at this point. And, we talk about how embarrassing it would be if they didn't, but does it change anything? Like, you're saying your coach is coming back. So if they go 5-7 or 6-6, is it helping any of us sleep better at night?
Not really.
Yeah. I'm just kind of thinking out loud, but I don't think it is. Normally we should be going into this conversation, Sydney, being like, hey, if they lose this game, that's got to be it. That's got to be door shut on Dave Aranda. Like, you can't miss a bowl game with this much talent, and yet that door is open, and it's not going to move. It's the screen door with the thing pushed out. It's just open. It's not shutting whether they win or lose. And so I do wonder whether they know it or not, these players, how much that factors in, that they're not playing for their coach's job.
Yeah, I don't know. That's like a really good point that you bring up because, they're really just playing for each other. And I think that's like what it just keeps coming back to. Like, you're not playing for, the season you wanted. You had your must-win games and you lost in them. Like, that's over. That's done with. Now you're just playing to make a bowl game that most of the guys probably won't even play in. Like, you're not the boxes to check off are they're gone, and they didn't get checked off, and so it sucks. But I said, I keep coming back to the fact, like, those seniors are a group of competitors, and I can see them really wanting to end their careers with a win, whether that this is their last game or if they do make a bowl game and that's their last game. But it's just what do they have to play for when they know the program's not changing? There's no change in leadership there. What are you doing, helping the next group of guys come in, or maybe set a tone for some of the recruits? Like, okay, but do you really care to do that? I think your focus is going to be elsewhere at that point.
Yeah, and I hope it is enough for them to just play for each other and just leave it all out there. That's what we all hope for. But oh man, it could be quite disappointing on Saturday. I hope it's not. I'm willing to put a lot of things, not everything aside, if they just win this game and put some things aside for a couple of days. Anyway, let's talk about who the biggest winners and losers were in the past week in the Big 12. Does it have Baylor flavor in there? Let's talk about it next on Locked On Baylor. But first, today's episode of Locked On Baylor is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel, who has Baylor minus 2.5 against Houston this Saturday. Whoa. Maybe throw some money on that. But here's the other thing. The NBA, it's back, like full swing back. No better place to get in on the action than our friends here at FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. So here's the thing. Even if you miss the start of the game and you're just like, I want to ride the hot hand here, you can do that. FanDuel has live bets on everything. Who's going to score the next basket, fourth quarter comebacks, over-unders, all that great stuff. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when it's your team making that late push. Right now, FanDuel's giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Let me say that again. New customers, $300 bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Back here on a Wicker Wednesday, Locked On Baylor. We're talking about our winners and losers of the week that was in the Big 12. Sydney, we had it starting on a high note last week with the winners. And now we're getting into our bag a little bit. Let's start with the loser, the biggest loser of the Big 12 this weekend. Sydney Wicker, it's
Baylor's next opponent, Houston.
Okay, how about
Had
that?
to go to the Cougars. I mean, come on. 17-14 loss. You couldn't get the field goal to tie it up in the final seconds. Like, just awful. And TCU's defense not been outstanding this season, and for you to take all the way to the second quarter to get just a touchdown on the board after they score 14 unanswered, not pretty look. I don't know. It shocked me. Also, that was in Houston, so. Yeah. Another big surprise there. Houston's been a really good team all year, a top 25 team, and it just kind of looked like even in November alone, like they just have lost some momentum, and this is when you need to really be rising and continuing to capitalize. But just for this loss against TCU, it felt like it stung a little bit, and that is something that could play into Baylor being favorites heading into this week.
I hate to keep doing this comparison, but like TCU, man, they lost all that they were playing for a couple of weeks ago. They weren't in a Big 12 championship hunt anymore. They had a great quarterback going into the year. Their defense wasn't very good. You know what they've done? The last 2 weeks, they've won back-to-back. Held teams under 20 points the last 2 weeks. Anyway, no more comparison there. All right.
Frustrated, Cam? It doesn't seem like it.
Just like, it comes back to this. I promise this will be lightning quick. Like, we're not asking for them to be Baylor to be UT or A&M. We're not even asking that. Like, TCU's the same program up the road with all the same resources and stuff. And they're at least showing some fight, man. And their fans aren't even happy about it because they want their coach fired. So it's crazy, man. They have a higher standard than Baylor does. So anyway, that's just how I really feel. Looking at my loser of the week, I'm going to go with the Cincinnati Bearcats.
Okay.
And, were they supposed to beat BYU? Not supposed to. But I thought they had a pretty good chance. I still like Cincinnati. I think they're a good team, but their true colors might have shown the last couple of weeks. That makes them 3 losses in a row. They hung with BYU for the most part in that game, arm's length. But 3 losses in a row, 2 of them at home. The other one was an absolute beatdown at the hands of Utah. I just expected more from Cincinnati in this 3-week stretch. Only one of those was a 1-score game, and it kind of just made you feel like, okay, they weren't really players in this conference. And I thought they were when they were 7-1. They now sit at 7-4. So they're my loser of the week.
Seems like it's almost like them and Houston have kind of had a similar path.
Very similar, I would say, in terms of their
We've
form.
had a lot of comparisons in the Big 12 here lately.
It's almost like this league has a ton of parity, Sydney. It's almost like, all right, Wicker's winner.
Wicker's winner this week is going to Utah. They battled against Kansas State. I remember tuning into that game, and they're in the final minutes of the 4th quarter, and I was like, what is going on? Like, we're going to lose this game to Kansas State. Like, I just couldn't believe it. And to finish that drive there at the end, to get the win in a tough game. I mean, you had to score 50 points. Like, there was no shortage of offense in that one. 51-47 being the final score, just insane. But Utah has continued to push and fight to prove that they're a top 25 team, that they deserve to be in the college football playoffs. They're currently ranked 12th right now. So in order to get that push, you got to win gritty games. And it doesn't matter if you're playing K-State, you're playing Baylor, whatever, you got to pull them out. And they did that. And so I think that really just helped establish them with where they're at and their push for the playoffs. But I thought it was a really good win for them. I was impressed by it, even though I was ready for the upset.
Yeah. And I'm sure, by the way, the College Football Playoff Committee will weigh that slim victory over Kansas State the same way they'll rank UT's slim wins over Kentucky and Mississippi State and Vanderbilt. I'm sure it'll be all things equal. But first and foremost, you got to win. And Utah just keeps winning, man. They just keep winning. I don't like Utah, okay? I don't love their fan base, how they act online. Some of them were actually great in the Utah week in the comment section on YouTube, but I'm kind of pulling for them to make this. I think this is a legit chance for the Big 12 to have 3 teams in. I don't think it's that crazy, and it's really Utah is the reason why, because they continue to win in that 3rd spot. So I think it's a good winner. That's a good winner right there. You got to win first and foremost. Style points come second. My winner this week, maybe the first time all year.
Oh,
at least since week 1. Maybe we did it week 0. We might have done it. Iowa State. Iowa State is my winner of the week. They have had a couple of good weeks in a row. They could have been our winner last week. They took down TCU 2 weeks ago, and then another win this weekend. That's 2 in a row after losing 4 in a row leading up to that. And they just took apart Kansas, by the way. But this was my gambler's fallacy, so to speak. I picked Kansas at plus 7.5. For some reason, I just keep betting Kansas. I finally learned my lesson, I think. But Iowa State I hope so. I hope so. They might be on the banned list. Like,
Kim, you need to remember you have a wedding coming up. You better stop.
I know, but that's where Ole Miss comes through for me. All right. That's where South Carolina's come through for me a surprising amount this year. And I hate to say it, but the team that has probably gotten me the most money in college football this year, a program I dread, the Oklahoma Sooners have done really well for your boy this year. That might help for the wedding. Kansas, though, banned, not the banned Kansas, but BANNED, like on the no-fly list. But Iowa State took them to the woodshed. It's the most impressive they've looked in a while. Like, that team wasn't on life support. Like, they were dead at 4 losses in a row. They lost to Colorado. Man, that shouldn't even be possible. But they found a way. And here they are, still kind of quietly, just not in the picture for anything necessarily, but they're sitting there at 7-4. They've already punched their bowl ticket and going with some momentum into the end of the season. So Iowa State, my big winner in the Big 12 this weekend. Any qualms with that?
No, I think it's fair. Like you mentioned, it's been a minute since we've talked about Iowa State. We might have mentioned them as a loser here or there, but they've kind of just slipped under the radar.
Big time.
I think even just from week 1 when they played, or week 0 when they played Kansas State. Like, we just haven't really talked about them too much, and it's just they've been kind of quiet. So I like that win. I think it's good. Anytime you get a win over Kansas and you mess up Cam's bet, it's got to be a win for somebody.
Somebody, not me. Not me. And by the way, Iowa State, they withstand 4 losses in a row, and they're not worried about bowl eligibility this weekend. I'm just saying, bro. I'm just saying. Anyway, Sydney, this is unfortunately where we have to depart because we got to talk some basketball, and that hasn't actually happened yet. So, Sydney, thank you for joining us on another Wicker Wednesday. Hope you have a great Thanksgiving and an awesome time this Saturday. I will. That game will be on the banned list. I don't touch that game. So
that's fair.
I hope you at least have fun.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited. My family goes every year. It's at the big house. So we will be tailgating before 4 a.m., before the sun comes up. The high is like 36 degrees. There's an 80% chance of snow. I will be bundled up like a little Eskimo, and we are going to have so much fun. So this is my plea I made last year. Baylor fans, if you are just desperate or you want to cheer for somebody else, root for Michigan this weekend. Just send me some good vibes.
Michigan historically needs more fans. You know, they're just not getting enough fan support. They'll get 30,000, I think, in the big house this weekend. I think.
Oh my gosh. We're gonna be packed in there like sardines.
At least that'll make it warmer. But that is football weather. I'm so here for that. That is so
Midwest football weather. That's why I get to do the rain games, because I've handled the winter storms. I grew up with them. Like, I can handle putting on a parka because and I can put on my rain boots if I have to, if I'm covering Baylor TCU and it's just pouring down rain.
Can't wait.
This is how you get your thick skin.
This is how you earn it. This is how you earn it right here. We're gonna talk basketball. Baylor, St. John's, the rematch. It's coming up next on Locked On Baylor. Well, that was humbling. St. John's did not score 100, but they certainly got their revenge on the Baylor Bears from that buzzer beater last year in overtime. 96-81. St. John's gives Baylor their first loss of the season. Look. St. John's is a better team than Baylor. Like they just are. They're more talented. They are a very talented team. And that was evidenced by the shot making in this game, because did Baylor deserve to win? I don't know. It should have been a closer game, but for, I think, the basketball gods. Like, again, St. John's, good team, talented team. I think they're going to be, obviously a force to be reckoned with all season long. But 57% from the floor and 50% from three, that doesn't happen very often. And I guess it evened out with their free throws were bad, 68%. But like even like late in the game, I want to say at the under 8 timeout in the second half, they were still like 58% from three. It's like crazy numbers, man. So like you look at that 96 and you're like, man, that Baylor defense, where is it? Optional. And it wasn't quite that way. It wasn't their best defensive performance. I think if Baylor's going to go up and down the floor with a team, especially one that's more talented than them, like St. John's, they are not going to survive. They aren't. But they didn't in this game, right? I mean, St. John's scored 13 seconds in, and it wasn't ever tied for the rest of the game. They kind of crushed them from then on. But what I will say in terms of like good trends, Baylor still rebounded the heck out of the ball. And you saw that in the game. They out-rebounded them by, 14? And they still beat them in second chance points. 26-9 in offensive rebounds and 21 second chance points. All of those things together kind of shows you that Baylor's a good team on the glass, better than they were last year and better than they probably should be this year based on their height. But it also shows you that St. John's hit a lot of shots, man. Again, 57% from the floor, and it wasn't all in this Baylor defense. And, obviously Sellers had a huge day. Hopkins had a huge day. Mitchell, I thought, was all over the floor for them. He was a terrific player. So they really spread it out. But I think there were some encouraging trends here to find the silver lining in Baylor basketball's first loss of the season. They had some guys struggle that they can't have struggle in big games, I would say. Obi Agbem, another kind of rough shooting day. Speaking of rough shooting days, Tunde Yesufu, 5 of 17 from the floor. He ends up getting 15 at the end of it, but really it was kind of Cam Carr and Isaac Williams were the only ones that were giving them a jolt offensively throughout this game. Dan Skillings had his toughest game in a Baylor uniform so far, only 5 rebounds, and missed a lot of shots. Had a bunch of rebounds, kind of 2 or 3 rebounds go off the rim for him, which was tough. And Mikey Ratai had a good game. I think he ended up getting a double-double. Yeah, 12 points, 12 rebounds. I thought he was terrific in spurts of this game. I thought he was playing real tough. And in fact, I would say this whole Baylor team played real tough. It was a tough result for them, but they were, God, I can't think of another word without swearing. They were tough. Man, they were tough as heck to play against. Rothstein would say something like, a steak from Montana or something. He'd come up with something. They were really tough in this game. And I think that toughness, that edge is what's going to carry Baylor in the games they do win this season. And you saw that again in the rebounding numbers, the offensive rebounding numbers in particular, the second chance points. If they're going to have that, they're going to win more games than I would have thought. But I think what this game also showed you is, because there's going to be a lot of talented teams, obviously, that they play in the Big 12, that they can't have an off day and overcome it. And that's fine, right? Like, they had some good days last year that they also lost. But it goes to show that there are going to be some of those games, whether it be against, Houston or Kansas or Iowa State, where you're facing a very talented team. And if you're on your B- game rather than your A game, you're probably not going to win. And so they're going to hang around. They're going to be tough SOBs this season. That is for sure. But this is not as negative a loss for me as it probably should be for a team that gave up 96 points and lost by 15. And it was, 20 with a minute and a half to go. I just think they played to their style. And you're not going to face many teams, I don't think, even though the Big 12's loaded, that are quite as talented as the St. John's team, and certainly not many that are as well coached as a team coached by Rick Pitino. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Like and subscribe. It helps me out a lot. And before we go today, obviously, tomorrow we've got Thanksgiving. So I just wanted to say how thankful I am for this show, this platform, this network, but mainly you guys, the fans that are watching and listening every day. It's not, I say this all the time, but it's worth noting, like, it's not the biggest fan base in the world, and things have not been going very well for us lately, but you guys continue to show out and support the show, and support me. Even those of you who find some of my colleagues and friends at the airport and get them confused with me. That happened over this week. So I can't thank you guys enough for what we have built in the last couple of years. I'm not going anywhere yet, but it's just a reflection time. Over the last 2+ years here, we have grown this channel exponentially, and it's because of you guys, and you keep coming back. And so I really appreciate that. I know for every 1 or 2 negative comments, there's 100 people that love the show. So really, really appreciate you guys. Very thankful for you. Let me know what you're thankful for in the comment section below. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. It helps us out a lot. Ring the notification bell if you want to get notified whenever we're dropping them. And we're going to take tomorrow off, and then we will see you on Black Friday to get ready for Houston and Baylor on the next episode of your favorite show, Locked On Baylor.